Hello there, I'm Fernanda Paiva, Hitchhiking Stars, bringing you insights about the lunations, and today we're going to talk about the new moon. So the new moon in Aquarius, so first new moon of 2025, very exciting. And this new moon will be happening on the 29th of January, 2025. So that's a very interesting one. I have the chart right in front of me right now, and I've made some notes. As usual, I'm going to invite you to reflect and to imagine the imagery that the Sabian symbol stands for. So this new moon happens at 9 degrees Aquarius, so 9 degrees Aquarius. Also reminding you that whatever that degree is in your birth chart, that's an important place right now for you. And for every lunation, every full moons, new moons, whichever degree and sign, to be able to find it in your birth chart can be really, really helpful. So you can ground the knowledge and make it more personal as well. So this new moon happens at 9 degrees Aquarius. So I want to talk about, as usual, the chart of the new moon, what I'm seeing, what the main aspects are, but also the Sabian symbol first, just to invite you to use, so we can use our imagination together, right? So the Sabian symbol for 9 degrees Aquarius, this is a very interesting one, thought-provoking one. I do like that flavor a little bit, and I can see that being very important with a strong Aquarian flavor in the sky. So this is something that we're invited to reflect and to set intentions and plant seeds. Remember, those are the basic meanings for a new moon. So the Sabian symbol for it is a man who had for a time become the embodiment of a popular ideal is made to realize that as a person, he is not this ideal. I'm going to say one more time. A man who had for a time become the embodiment of a popular ideal is made to realize that as a person, he's not this ideal. So that's a very important idea here. That's a very important idea. I've read about it, how as humans, flawed human beings, we can sometimes create suffering in our lives when we confuse our identity as individuals with that of archetypes, with that of collective flavors, or as in the Sabian symbol, with ideals. We are not an ideal. We are human beings, flawed with the whole package. We are not perfect. We are complex human beings. We are dual beings many times, or even more than that. I think we're multifaceted beings, and sometimes we're gonna feel good about something, and sometimes we're not gonna feel good about something, or certain ideals that we have might not work in certain situations when we are emotionally invested, and vice versa. I think this is such an important topic, particularly for the people that are very invested in the spiritual growth. I think I have seen that a lot. I have witnessed a lot of that attempt to become perfect, to see human evolution as a sort of, above and beyond, and never really, and how I realized through my work, through my personal life as well, that oftentimes growth is in a spiral motion, that we do return to where we were, that we do get triggered again, that we do go back into those dark places. But when we come back stronger. But we have that movement, and we do feel those emotions throughout the process. We do feel jealous, or we do feel sad, or we do feel the weight of unfairness, or whatever it is. as human beings that we do get those triggers, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm prolonging myself. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this. So it was a nice surprise to read this imagery for that degree of this new moon. I think we have an opportunity here to let go of any stifled ideal that's limiting our ability to love, our ability to feel compassion, our ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. I think this is such an important topic. And in particular, as I'm looking at this chart for this new moon, I think that's even more relevant. Because what we have here is two stelliums. We have two stelliums. One with Aquarius and the other one in Pisces. And the stellium in Pisces is comprised of the North Node and Saturn as well. It's like a sandwich. Saturn is one slice of the bread, and the North Node is the other slice of the bread. And I really feel that Saturn and the North Node are both talking about growth, are both talking about karma and karmic lessons and evolution as well. And so the Piscean flavor is really super important here in the process. And the compassion and seeing yourself in the other, forgiving. And with the forgiving, I'm not talking go, step all over your boundaries because, everyone deserves unconditional love and etc. Because there's a fine line here. There's a balance here, right? Of our human experience. Of being able to say no, of being able to witness someone dear to us commit mistakes and allow them to commit their mistakes, because that's part of their path as well. It's not up to us to make decisions for them. But also remove ourselves from situations as well when we have to, or say no and that's not okay, you overstepped my boundary. So that's also important here. And is also reflected in the chart. But let's look at the chart bit by bit here so we don't get overwhelmed. So in the Aquarian stellium, we have the sun and the moon. So obviously it's a new moon, so we have sun and moon together at 9 degrees Aquarius. And the other two planets that we have is Mercury at 2 degrees Aquarius and Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius. So we have a Mercury-Pluto conjunction here. And the sun and moon are not too far from Pluto either. We got an 8 degree separation here. So they're still close enough to that energy of Pluto. So that tells me that this can be a tremendously transformative cycle. Potentially not an easy one. Pluto never brings a promise of easiness or feeling at ease. It's really going through something that brings discomfort, but that also brings a lot of growth or a lot of potential for reintegrating ourselves, for reclaiming parts of ourselves that we rejected previously. So it's a wonderful month for some shadow work, put it simply. And because the conjunction between Mercury and Pluto is so tight, I would also suggest that this has to do with changing our mindset. This can be a powerful cycle for changing our mindset in a very strong way, in a very deep way as well. Paying attention to how thoughts create reality, how our thoughts and our communication, the words that we choose, can affect other people, can affect and have an impact in our relationships, in our role in the community as well. But with that, always keeping in mind those ideals, any attempt that we might be having of embodying an ideal, embodying a popular ideal that does not give us room to be human, does not give us room to be contradictory, to be messy, to be sad, or whatever it is. So this is really important reflection for this month. And I think it's something that is going to be very relevant when it comes to this general period of having Pluto in Aquarius as well, for all of us, collectively speaking, to think about these things individually, because the collective is made of individuals. We're all in this together. And if I transform myself and my patterns, I'll have an impact on the immediate, in my immediate surroundings. How I treat my clients, how I treat my neighbors and the people around me as well. Beginning from how I treat myself as well. That's also very, very important. But that stellium in Aquarius is very, very powerful. And Aquarius is the sign connected to ideals. Is the sign connected to causes, greater causes. What do we believe about humanity, human rights, animal rights, and all the causes that we choose to align ourselves with, to fight for? So we're being invited to review that and to see those causes as not necessarily our identity and who we are as a person. That we can agree to disagree with each other and still respect each other. I think that's very, very important. Now the second stellium is in Pisces, as I've mentioned, that little sandwich, because we have Saturn at 17 Pisces. We've got Venus at 25 Pisces, Neptune at 27, and the North Node at 28 Pisces. So all of that telling us that there's a huge lesson here in connection to compassion and Pisces, seeing ourselves in others. And even if we disagree, even if we don't have the same daily habits, even if another person is still using plastic or disposable plastic in their lives, or if they're still eating meat, or if they're still ignorant to some of the causes that you hold so dear, we're still part of the same thing. We're still human beings. We're still cry. We're still feel the need to belong, etc. So I think the Pisces really brings that dimension to this chart, to this cycle, and the opportunity to forgive, to feel compassion, to really see yourself through another, and to bring that spiritual practice to another level as well. I think, to surrender into that spiritual practice, the spiritual belief as well, becoming very serious about things. And Venus-Neptune conjunction, honestly, is such an opportunity here for forgiving and getting in touch with universal love, unconditional love, and etc. That's something really beautiful of these placements in Pisces. Mars is at 21 degrees Cancer. So Mars is still retrograde. Obviously, it'll be retrograde until February. But Mars is retrograde at 21 degrees Cancer. So it's forming a trine to Saturn and a trine to Venus as well. So there's a supportive aspect here with Mars to these general higher feelings, right? Feeling connected to others. But, and here is the advice here for this cycle, but this same Mars is forming a square to Chiron. Chiron is at 19 degrees Aries. And so we're still dealing with wounds of self-assertion, wounds in our individual selves, wounds in our sense of individuality. So that's also still going in the background. And sometimes we might use the idea of unconditional love as an excuse or as a defense mechanism to not say no to somebody, to not tell them how you truly feel about something, to not really set your boundaries. And that's something that is also on the table here. It's also important for us to reflect on, to pay attention, to consider during this month, during this cycle, right? Where Chiron is, there's also the potential for healing. And one more thing that I really want to mention to you is that this new moon is at 9 degrees Aquarius and is forming a trine to Jupiter, which is retrograde at 11 degrees Gemini. So keyword for this new moon as well is growth. Jupiter always brings growth to whatever it touches. So there's a lot of potential for growth here as well, and for compassion, as I've mentioned with Pisces. So that's it. I hope you have a wonderful new moon and a new cycle, that you can plant wonderful seeds. And I will be speaking to all of you soon. So take care, lots of love, and speak soon. Bye bye.